On tonight, we're going to talk about faithfulness. Faithfulness prompts God's protection. And on this evening, we're going to be coming from the book of Daniel. And when reading the book of Daniel, sometimes it makes you wonder what his name actually means. And Daniel's name means God is my judge. And we'll start in chapter 1, starting at verse 3. Daniel chapter 1, verse 3. And it says, Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of his courts, to bring in some of the Israelites from the royal family and the nobility, young men without physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. Now, let me just explain what's going on here. King Nebuchadnezzar was trying to form an army, and he wanted only the elite, the prime, the best of the best to be in his army. So that's why he was saying that all these men had to meet these qualifications. He was to teach them the language and literature of Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that, they were to enter the king's service. Among these were some from Judah: Daniel, Hannah, Miscah, and Azariah. The chief official gave them new names. So right here, the king wanted to change their name, change their identity to fit into what he wanted them to be. And keep in mind that we're talking about faithfulness. And it says, he changed their names to Daniel. Daniel, the name Belteshazzar, to Hannah, Shadrach, to Miscah, Meshach, and to Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine. So, and then as we read earlier, he wanted them not only to be the best of the best, but he wanted them to eat certain foods. And then he changed their names. But Daniel held fast to his beliefs, because it says that Daniel did not want to defile himself with royal food and wine. And he asked the chief official for permission not to defile this way. Now, God had caused the official to show favor and sympathy. And once again, that goes back to our title. Faithfulness prompts God's protection, because God's protection was clearly in this, because he allowed the official to show Daniel favor and sympathy. 10. But the official told Daniel, I am afraid of my lord, the king, who has assigned your food and drink. Why should he see you looking worse than the other young men your age? The king would then have my head because of you. So right now he's trying to corrupt Daniel's mind, trying to get him to say that, okay, you need to eat this food, because if you don't eat this food, your frame is not going to be the frame or the body weight or the body style of the others. And then the king is going to come at me because Daniel was one of the elite. Daniel then said to the guard whom the chief official had appointed over Daniel, Hannah, Miscah, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days. So not only Daniel, but his friends as well. They all were faithful. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the young men who eat the royal food and treat your servants in accordance with what you see. So he agreed to this and tested them for 10 days. So he agreed and he said, okay, y'all can just eat the vegetables. 15. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. So you see, that was God's protection. They didn't have to sell out. They were faithful to their belief in God. They only ate the vegetables and they came out looking better than the people that were bowing down to what the king wanted them to do. And that's God's protection. And we have to remember that God's protection will be there if we be faithful to him. It's all about being faithful to God. So the guard took away their choice food and wine. They were to drink and gave them vegetables instead. These 4 young men, God gave knowledge and understanding, all because they were faithful. God gave them knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning. That means that they surpassed everybody else in this army. They were top notch. And then you could understand visions and dreams of all kinds because God's protection was around them. At the end of the time set by the king to bring them in, the chief official presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and he found none equal to Daniel, Hannah, Mizpah, and Azariah. So they entered the king's service. Even every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king questioned them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in this whole kingdom. And Daniel remained there until the first year of King Cyrus. So he had favor, not just him, his friends too, because they were faithful unto God. And when you go down into chapter 2 and starting at verse 12, this is still talking about God's faithfulness. And because Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and he was looking for people to interpret the dream. And none of the sorcerers or any of the other people could interpret this dream. And this is what it's talking about when we go on to 12. So this made the king so angry and furious that he ordered the execution of all the wise men of Babylon.